Strong, honourable, loyal. The Orcs of Orsinium are all these things. Yet, they are still outcasted from a majority of Tamriel, and stereotyped as being nothing more than fierce barbarians. But, who actually are the Orcs? The Orsima are actually a form of mer, but they are by far the most unique kind. Their muscular frame, green skin tone, tusks and bone ridges makes it difficult to distinguish them as mer. Like all mer, they originate from the Altmer in the Somerset Isles, but how they became Orcs is an interesting story. In the Merfolk era, when many of the Altmer left the Somerset Isles and slowly turned into the races of mer we know today, not all the Altmer were as accepting as others. A group of Altmer, led by an elf named Triminac, attempted to stop the Chimer, one of the elven groups leaving the Somerset Isles in search of new lands, where they would be able to live without persecution and worship their Daedric lords. When Triminac and his armies attempted to stop the departure of the Chimer, the Daedric prince Boethia appeared, and was said to have ate Triminac, to stop him delaying her followers. In this process, Triminac's soul and body was corrupted, and he was reanimated as the Daedric prince Malakath. As well as this, the men were transferred into the Orcs, or pariah folk, as punishment for their defiance. The Orcs were then denounced by the Altmer, and seen more as an abomination. They were then forced out of the Somerset Isles. Instead of finding new lands to settle, the Orcs decided to stay in multiple settlements dotted all around the provinces of Tamriel, much to the natives' anguish. The Orcs, who were once tightly regimented Altmer, disbanded into tribes and started following their new deity Malakath, which included following his strict warrior code of Malakath. This code created great warriors, despite how they had no natural magical properties like their elven cousins. The Orcs follow the code as their law, and to break it demands punishment. The code of Malakath keeps the Orcs in order, and it stops them from senseless violence and holds them to their word. It's almost unheard of an Orc trying to extort any trades. The Orcs have only ever possessed one city, when Orc chieftain Torogro Igon founded Orsinium. What started as a small settlement high in the Hrothgarian mountains soon grew as Orc tribes relocated to what they saw as an Orcish capital. The lands became a safe haven for the Orcs. Finally, they had a place where they would not be shunned. At least, for a while. Being within the province of High Rock, which is controlled by the Bretons, the sheer power of the Orcs shown in battle made King Jolie of Daggerfall nervous. King Jolie decided that having a city of what he saw as barbarians in his land was unacceptable. He conversed with Gaden Shinji of Hammerfell. Together they decided to attack Orsinium, and towards the end of the First Era, the siege of Orsinium had begun. Ultimately, despite the Orcs' tenacity, the city fell, and the Orcs were set back into the wilds of Tamriel. Throughout the next era, the Orcs would continue to construct strongholds around Tamriel, simply taking lands. Many would view removing one small stronghold and reclaiming a small portion of land not worth taking on an entire Orc warhorde. But if the Orcs were to expand their borders, then they would be turfed out by greater numbers. The Orcs, despite the appearance of their strongholds and themselves, are well civilized. They do not start wars to conquest the innocent. Unlike the Dunmer or the Khajiit, they have never taken slaves. Some would say that having the Orcs as allies is incredibly valuable, due to their loyalty. This is why many Orcs have fought in the Imperial Legion, although many still see them as outcasts and barbarians. All the same, no sane man would ever question the strength of an Orc who had just gone berserk on the battlefield. at least if he valued his health. Life in an orc stronghold is one of hardship, where everybody must pull their weight. From birth, every resident of a stronghold is taught to defend it. Every stronghold has a wise woman who defies the code of Malakath. The rules of the code are simple. Don't kill, don't steal, don't attack anybody without reason. They do not have jails in strongholds. Instead, offenders are forced to pay a blood price, in which the criminal bleeds until the victim is satisfied, which you can imagine is quite a lot. The leader of a stronghold is the chief, and he is the strongest, unlike in other parts of Tamriel where positions are inherited. When an orc chief becomes old or weak, another orc may challenge him in a battle to the death. Almost every chief in an orc stronghold killed his predecessor, as he will be killed by another to take his place. As well as this, the chief is the only one who is allowed to have wives. This ensures that the strongest of blood is passed on, so the average chief will have around several wives. Some say the armour makes the man. Although not necessarily true for the orcs, their steel is legendary. Whilst other elves may carve beautiful works of art onto their armour, and Nords may sing songs of the hardiness of theirs, orcalum is one of the hardest raw metals on Tamriel. Facing an orc berserker wearing plates of orcalum is a fate you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy. The orcs have faced many perils in their lineage, and have been forced to set up strongholds in harsh conditions. But none so harsh as the deep swamps of Blackmarsh, the poison-ridden homeland of the Argonians.